welcome back. We are up for our next speakers. This is really going to be an exciting talk. We're talking about modern artist development today. And as I mentioned in this morning's presentation, one of the cool things I think that's going to come out of this talk is you're going to see from whether you're trying to be on the business side and managing somebody, or whether you're the artist working with a manager, working with a label, you're going to kind of get the perspective. And so I'd like to introduce our speakers today from Richard Parizer and Sydney Alston. So both of these guys, first of all, I know Richard, and just Richard is good people. You're going to have fun listening to him. And Sydney has had an amazing career. I think you're going to learn so much. So let me tell you a little bit about their backgrounds. So Richard wears many hats. He's a keyboardist for the award-winning LA-based Electro Synth Pop band Robot Nature. And if you guys haven't seen Robot Nature, check them out. It's so cool. He's shared the stage with Lifehouse, Fuel, Hoobastank, Wallflowers, Alan Parsons, just a whole roster of cool bands you know. And he's been a composer with music featured on Fox, ABC, NBC, VH1, Nickelodeon, Discovery. And Richard also is a music educator. He teaches, but he's also co-founder of a really exciting cryptocurrency project, CLINK, which is really focused on how to utilize blockchain for artists and streaming. So in the future, you might be hearing more about that. And then we have Sydney, who has 20 years experience as a music manager. And he really has addressed every facet of the music business in LA, around the world. He's gotten 17-year-old Major Majid signed to recording contract with Warner Brothers. Major went on to win a Grammy and has written songs for superstars Chris Brown, Usher, Miguel. Sydney has won Eurovision Award for the best song Only Teardrops. And that went on to be #1 in 11 countries. Sydney specializes in artist development and has helped many young artists achieve their goal of becoming lifetime professionals in the world. So Richard and Sydney, without further ado, I would love to introduce you and have you talk about modern artist development.
Wow, thank you. I don't see Richard here anywhere, but I know he's there. Can you see me, Rich?
No, I can't see either, Sid, but you know what? We'll have to, kind of wing it, right?
No
Which is
problem.
fine. Um, but yeah, and once again, Forrest, thank you so much for the great introduction. That was very kind of you, and
Fantastic.
it's good seeing, well, not seeing, good hearing you again.
So modern artist development, you want to learn what it takes to have a career as an artist. It used to be that record labels would develop artists, but if anyone's ever tried to get a record deal, you'll know today they're going to ask you questions like, how many Spotify fans do you have? How many YouTube followers do you have? How many Instagram followers do you have? Where's your fan base at? So they're not really doing that work that they used to do anymore. And so you either have to do it yourself, or people like me and Richard, you know, uh, artist managers would do that kind of work. So we want to dive right in. What do you think, Rich?
Yeah, we could dive right in, but maybe we should just give a quick little backstory that Forrest didn't mention, that we are partners, and I think you were just starting to mention a little bit about that and kind of what we're doing a little bit too. But yeah.
Yeah, me and Rich actually are partners. I managed his band, which is how we met in the first place. I saw them perform. I loved them. I thought they were awesome. And we started working together, I don't know,
Yep.
7 years ago maybe. And on the first project, and then his band kind of took a turn where the lead singer left, and I helped to put together this new band, Robot Nature. Um, but one thing I learned about Richard is that Richard was very organized. He was the guy who kept it all together professionally and kept it pro. And he introduced me to an artist that we are working with together now, where we started our company. And since then, we've actually done quite a bit together in terms of development, which we're going to go through a lot of this stuff because this is exactly what we're doing now and what I've done in the past for many artists who are out there doing stuff. So we'll take it from the first slide here. So uh, modern artist development is, of course, that takes artist development from talent to a music career is a step that is no longer done by record labels, but rather by artists recording, promoting, and creating their own unique brand. So we'll dive into the first step. So the first step, I think, for any artist, if you think you have talent, you got to kind of figure out what that talent is and how to make it work for you. So you're going to have to figure out your style and genre. Are you going to be rock? Are you going to be uh, urban kind of hip hop or pop? Are you going to be country? Whatever your genre or style is, you got to kind of find your niche. You want to get there. You want to be alongside those kinds of artists. So you'll know on Spotify when somebody picks that category, it says rock, you're in the rock category. A lot of people would say, well, I don't know what kind of music I do. So therefore, you can't be in any of those boxes that they have on Spotify because you don't know. So you got to figure it out where you belong at. Um, you want to develop your songwriting. And songwriting, some artists aren't really great songwriters, as you probably know. Whitney Houston was a great artist that didn't write any of her own songs. But songwriting is an important part of it because the song is the star. You as an artist can be a star, but not without the song. Songs make artists. When you get down to songwriting and style, what are you going to sing about? What is the subject matter of your songs? Are you going to sing songs about having a broken heart? Are you going to sing songs about being successful? Are you going to sing songs about being the greatest basketball player ever? I don't know. Whatever the subject matter is, you're going to try and keep it as consistent as possible from one record to the next. And when I say from one record to the next, I really specifically mean in the actual record that you're writing, the song itself. You don't want to jump around about multiple things in one song. You're telling a story in that song. And then beyond the actual song, the next thing is unique spin. So if everybody wrote the exact same thing, it wouldn't be very interesting. All songs would sound the same. So in order to make your song stand out, you're going to need to put a unique spin on it, a unique selling property, or a USP, as they call it. So you got your song, your style, your subject matter, your spin. The next step is about production. How are you going to record that song? Are you going to just play piano and sing it, guitar and sing it? You're going to go with a band? Is it going to be a dance track where it's mainly just, electronic instruments and computer sounds? What's that going to be like? And then I guess this last thing, actually, you're going to do all along the way, like co-writers and collaborators. Richard and I are collaborators. Richard could probably tell you more about the co-writers and collaborators because I know he works with a lot of people and has brought a lot of people to the table for us. Go ahead, Rich.
Sure, yeah. I mean, as far as co-writing goes, and actually, let me back up just a little bit. Going back to the unique spin, just from a personal example, as Sid mentioned, he manages my band Robot Nature, so I kind of live on both sides as being managed and also managing. But as far as unique spin goes, in the case of my band Robot Nature, one of the uniqueness that we found was trying to combine styles. A lot of artists will take certain influences, whether it be reggae or even dance, and then find the way to fuse them together. And that's partly adds to what can be a unique spin. Robot Nature has a song called All My Life, and it does something similar to that. It has a little bit of a pop, a little bit of a rock, but it really has this one moment in the song that spins into this reggae moment. And that, I think, made us a little bit different from a lot of the stuff you're hearing, but at the same time recognizable, because the lyrics and the content inside actually helps kind of put it all together. It helps deliver a message and ultimately engage. And so someone could probably, feel it. And that's what music's really all about. It's about that feeling, right? As far as co-writing goes, so that's a really interesting one. I think that it really varies from one song or one production to the next. As far as my band goes, it actually isn't necessarily just all of us writing a song. Sometimes it is just my lead singer. Sometimes it is me bringing a production, introducing that production to my lead singer and saying, "Hey, do you like this?" And he says, "Oh man, I can vibe with that. Let me sit with this for a moment." Like one day later or even earlier, he comes back and sends me, you know, a voice memo of him recording melodies. I'm like, "Oh, I really like this melody. Let's try to spin into that." And that's like the whole process, right? You know, co-writing is a interesting thing. And then collaborations, you know, it doesn't all have to fit inside one unit. It could be, you could collaborate with people outside and co-write with people outside of even your art, you know, in my case, a band of sometimes 3, but 4 members. We might even work with other producers. We've done that. We've had a lot of collaboration with other writers outside of our own, just to bring a different, you know, vibe and feel that we would, you know, wouldn't normally bring. But that, you know, kind of sums up this slide. Thanks, Sid.
All right. All right. So next, now we got the music. We're going to talk about how you're going to, how people are going to see you, your outward facing self. So when people look at your Instagram, when they look at your SoundCloud page, when they go to your YouTube page, uh, when you send out your EPK, all of these things are going to require a particular look. You want to have a style, right? Sometimes your style can be very, very simple. You could just be the guy down the street, and that's cool. That works. Sometimes you're going to be Daft Punk, right? And that's something totally different. So these are some of the elements that go into the visuals, especially when it comes to girls. A stylist, a hairstylist, a makeup artist. Those are 3 things that you want to work with. I even recommend guys work with stylists too, because we're pretty simple a lot of times and we don't think about accessories. You know, does this belt actually make the outfit look cooler? Does a chain, because I believe that it's not about, you know, when you're looking at something, what is cool versus what looks expensive, or what, you know what I mean? You don't have to look expensive. You just have to look cool, and cool based on your music, based on your personal vibe, you know. And the styles will come in and add to that. You know, they'll just add a piece to that. They'll add some kind of flair that separates you from every other guy or girl who's wearing the same kind of outfit or clothes. Just have you wear it a little bit differently. You know, once you have the styling down, your hair is right, your makeup is good, you know, the clothing, the shoes, all of those things go together to make a look. And then one other thing I stuck in this slide was graphic design, because um, when you take pictures, because a lot of this stuff is going to have to be do with pictures. There's a picture on Instagram, there's a picture on YouTube, there's a picture, you know. So when you take the pictures, graphic designers can help you to add the text, put it into a better perspective. So when people see it, it's more interesting. When you're live, you're already in that setting. You're already in some kind of a setting. You're in a club, you're in a restaurant, you know, you're outside. But when you're taking pictures, you can really refine that and make it look even cooler. So I put that in the slide as well. Anything with
Well, you know, you
visuals
really
there,
did sum it
Richard?
up. I mean, and I'm glad you add the graphic design element, because that is true. It's not all about just the capture. Sometimes you have an idea that you can add to the capture. You know, if you even are on a beach scene, for example, you could actually think about how the sky, maybe it's a daytime shoot and you're on the beach, but you can change the sky. You can alter some of this imagery, and sometimes that better fits your brand and your image. So that is important.
Now you can brighten it up a little bit, you can make it look darker depending on the type of music that you're doing. You know, some things aren't so
Yeah,
bright. They need to be dark. They need to
it's
be
about a mood,
kind
you
of
know, and you
ominous.
want to fit a mood. And if it's a song that you're trying to maybe capture an image that sort of correlates, you want to think about the mood of that song and then try to capture that, of course, so you can, you know, add that content to your profile, your brand.
Yeah, and that's what's next. So that all builds is part of building your brand. So those pictures, building your brand, giving you a look, being consistent across all mediums, so that when somebody looks at it, they know that's what you're about. That's what branding really is telling people what you're about without actually saying it sometimes. So in your pictures, your videos, your bio, which is actually uh, it tells people, if they read it, who you are and how you got here. Um, your website should be branded with the same pictures and videos that you have on other mediums. Your social media is interesting. That could be a conversation unto itself, because there are lots of ways to view social media today. But I think, in my opinion, now I've studied tons of people on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook to understand what makes one person successful over another. And mostly it's just about you. Like, the people just like you, and your pictures that you take and that you post and the things that you say. You're somehow able to relate to people uh, on a pretty basic level, so that a lot of people will actually like you. And I think keeping your social media natural, you know, don't make it overproduced. I think overproduced social media only works if you are an overproduced artist. If your stuff is super duper slick and it's all major label sounding, your clothes are brand new and designer, then it makes sense. But if you're an artist playing music for normal, regular, ordinary people, if it's too over the top, ordinary people think it's fake and they move on. They're just not that interested in that. But again, if you're being true to yourself and that is really who you are and what you do and how you roll. I got a Lamborghini outside. I'm wearing my pimp suit, and that works. But if that's not who you are, it doesn't fit your music or anything like that. You really don't need to do anything that elaborate. It's better to post than not to post. It's better to keep it moving than to wait for the perfect picture, than the perfect saying, the perfect anything, because social media is very real. It happens in real time. It's constantly moving. Um, Posters, postcards, stickers, you use your pictures, bio, and those kinds of things to create these marketing tools. Album art, banners, the banners that go on the top of your Facebook, and so on. You can use those banners for everything. You kind of want to brand yourself the same across all media for each campaign that you're doing. So I consider a campaign like a single or an album. It's a full campaign, so you want to brand it across everything. You can look at some of the bigger artists and see how they do it. Um, it makes sense, when you look at it. An EPK is an electronic press kit for those who don't know. Basically, it includes links that take you to videos, links that take you to your social media. Some of the links are embedded, so you can watch a video or listen to some music. But it's what you would send to any type of promoter, someone who you're trying to impress. A manager, a booking agent, a club, a record label. An electronic press kit tells your story. It's just like your static press kit, but it's electronic. So it's easy to send as a link.
Well, one thing I'll add to that, Sydney, branding is kind of funny because even though you want to be consistent, I think it's very important to be consistent. There are stages of branding, especially with depending on the career or the longevity of the career of the artist. You look at an artist currently like Billie Eilish. She's clearly kind of found a brand with a little bit of that baggy clothing. And sometimes we even saw her rebrand a little bit more recently than not. So she has kept it very consistent. But then you look at an artist like a Prince even, although he had that purple guitar that kept him really on brand or kept him, knowing who Prince was, he wasn't wearing the same outfit every time either, So there is such a thing as kind of like almost, I wouldn't call it as much as rebranding, but at the same time of evolving the brand, kind of moving along, as you got older, as your career builds and gets, more mature in a way, you grow with that. So branding's, you always want to keep impressing your audience, to keep building an audience, but also to keep your audience there, to keep, the engagement high there. So branding is always a funny one, but when it comes from the beginning stages, you do want to be consistent. You want to find what that is. And maybe it's worth mentioning a little bit about our artist who we manage, Sydney Erica Tam, who is not released yet. We're in the process of a lot of this that we're talking about, but maybe mention a little bit something, kind of how we branded her, how we are discovering her brand. You had a good moment or a good saying on that modern. You say it, Sid, because you're better at that than me.
Yeah, she's just a badass.
Yeah.
That's her main brand. She's a modern, sassy badass. But I got to go back to you made a good point with Prince. Prince is a very good person that you can look at, because this is not something that's new, or it's something that is consistent throughout time. Prince's branding per album. Purple Rain was one brand, one style, one look, one thing, until he got to the next thing. Under the Cherry Moon, a totally different branding, totally different thing. He had the symbol sign,
Yeah.
completely different branding. Same guy, but like it kept it consistent until till he was done with that, and he was on to the next thing. But he did keep it fairly consistent for a little while for each album cycle that he went through. And I think that's cool, man. Like today, the cycles are much faster. People put out singles every 2 to 3 weeks. I mean, if you're Olivia Rodriguez, you're putting out an entire album full of singles, and it's all on the top 10, within a matter of a couple of months. All right,
Totally.
so I'm gonna let you take this one, Richard, because you're the performer.
Well, performance. Well, when it comes to live performance, I can talk from a couple angles. One, a technical angle. I'm the keyboardist of Robot Nature. I also do a lot of the programming. What I mean by that, I actually make sure the show flows. A lot of times we will pick our show, and what I mean by that is we'll pick the order of songs, and we'll try to cater to what we're or who we're performing to in that given moment or that given performance. But with that said, I have to actually program it in a program called Mainstage I use. So I actually have backing tracks, we're arming things, I have controls for all that on stage. So that's a big part of the technical side of how a performance can go. Says presenting your recordings. Well, sometimes you want to be able to present your recording almost just like the record, because a lot of times when fans come out to see your show, they actually want to hear what they heard on the radio. They want to hear that same sound. I think it goes both ways. It does depend on the group. A group like maybe Grateful Dead, a little bit of a different angle there because they're very improvised, and it just depends on the genre you're in. But in most cases, you want to really play the record pretty much like most people recognize it, because that's what they came to see. They came out to see that record that they heard on the radio, maybe for the first time, and they're just discovering you, and they're like, oh my God, I heard that, and they just feel like they're a part of the journey. They all of a sudden feel like they're a part of what you're doing, and so that's important when it comes to presenting your recordings. Or at least that's the way I view that from a performance standpoint.
Well, you can also
Sure,
let me just
please.
kick into, because presenting your recordings also. You're right. You're absolutely right. People do want to hear the song the way it was recorded, but sometimes you can do a stripped down version of it. It could be acoustic version of that song. Sometimes it could be an orchestral performance. Like I know Christina Aguilera was performing last night with the Los Angeles Symphony Orchestra at the Hollywood Bowl, but she's playing Christina Aguilera songs. I mean, those songs start to evolve over time, where even cover bands will perform those songs. So when you're presenting your own songs, you know, uh, coming up with multiple ways, I think, to present them is
Yeah, and
is
I was actually kind of
sorry
steering
about that.
into that a little bit. I was going to use one of our examples that "Do You Want to Be a Star" is another song by Robot Nature, and we had that record out now on all streaming platforms and everything, so you can hear it as a record. But when we perform it live, one of the spins that we put on that song is we do a whole improvised section at the end. So we play the record much like you hear it on the radio, but then we always have that case where you just make it very unique for that moment, that performance, that particular performance. We've done like Burning Man, like everyone at Burning Man had got their own vibe of Robot Nature in that case. So that was that is important. You want to make it special, but you also want to make it recognizable. So I can't agree with you more. Sid, it is about finding making it recognizable, like I was saying, but definitely finding twists on it. Adding little things, elements. If it's a full orchestra behind, like you said with Christina Aguilera, that's great. People will still recognize the record, but they'll now hear a little bit of a personal experience at that performance. Very important when it comes to performance. You want to always give that personal experience, especially to those super fans who are maybe coming to most of your shows throughout the year. They want to come, but they want to see something different happen. So that's important. Connecting to the melody. Go ahead. Yep.
So yeah. I wrote this one because I go and watch artists for a long time. For 30 years, I've been watching people perform. And I think the most compelling performances are when it feels like the artist connects connects with the lyrics and melody. I mean, they're connecting with what they're saying. So if they're singing about a broken heart, they're not smiling while they're doing it and grinning and having a good time because that's a sad song. They
Yeah.
actually are connecting with the melody and the lyrics. And I think that that is the most compelling kind of performance that you'll see. There are lots of people who are able to really do that kind of a performance. Um, you know, you could always look at Coldplay or like that. I mean, there's just some really great artists that do
Absolutely.
that the best.
Yeah,
And
and
I
it
think
goes
that's
beyond that
important.
too. It's not. It's you nailed it. I mean, connecting with the song and making sure people feel the song so they can walk away with a feeling is all too important. But then at the last point you see here with connecting to your audience, that goes even beyond that. That could mean something like as simple as a hand clap, and you're kind of directing that. You're getting people involved, so they feel like they're a part of it. That's a really important part of the performance aspect. Just the other day, one of the songs we were just doing like
Mhm.
kind of a wave, back and forth, just kind of a dance movement to get everyone moving with us, and that's connecting to your audience because then people feel like you're not just singing to randomness. You're singing to them. You're connecting to them, and you're getting them involved. Even like you see a lot of times, if just in case you've been out to a show or a concert, you'll see the artist often put out the microphone in front of them because that's a sign to have the audience potentially sing their chorus or sing that verse or sing that moment. It's like, and they might even go back and forth because that's engagement. So important during any performance to engage. And this is as big as crowds as 40, 50, 60, 70, 10,000, whatever, thousands of people, or even as small of a crowd as 5 people, 10 people, you can still connect, and that's just as important. So yeah, this one's a big one.
I'll throw
Sure.
one more piece in there to this because this is like everybody should be connecting with the audience. Everybody should be connecting with the song when they're performing. And one of the best ways to practice that is to do it in front of a mirror. Now you're your own audience and whatnot. You know what I mean? So you can sing to yourself and watch how it looks. I highly recommend that everybody who plays on stage, if you're trying to be good at it, look at yourself in the mirror while you're performing. You'll look at yourself, and if you think that you're boring, then everybody thinks that you're boring. If you're over the top, you're just doing too much, you'll be able to see that. You'll be like, oh, it's a little bit too much. But it's really important that if you want to be good at it, you should look at yourself in the mirror while you perform and try that, 2 or 3 times until you really understand what you look like.
Definitely some good advice there.
All right. So the next step is, once you get your music right, once you get your look down, you have an identity and songs. Um, you're going to want a team. Now, the team, I'm going to tell you that most people, most managers, lawyers, agents, business managers, all these people don't really want to have anything to do with you unless they can make some money. The goal is for them to make money. They want to make money off of your talent. And so most of those people you're not going to be ready for until you're already making some money. You're already outperforming. You already have a record that's doing something. A lot of times these people will come looking for you. You won't even have to go looking for them. Um, I would say one of the first people that you're going to need on your team is the lawyer. Um, Now, a lot of people would say the manager's number one, but managers actually manage everything. So they manage the lawyer, the agent, the business manager, the advisors and consultants, the promoters. So they're going to be the guy who oversees everything. But this lawyer, he's the guy who's going to do the management deal. He's going to actually do the management deal. You want to get your own lawyer so that way he's your lawyer, not the manager's lawyer. Once you get your lawyer and your manager together, then you're looking for, you know, if you have enough spends or you've already performed, you have enough fans. Like really, booking agents aren't interested in people to book unless you're incredible and they're booking like schools or USO tours, people who pay you. Generally, it's all about how many people you can bring. If you can bring 1 million people, then you're going to make $1 million. If you can only bring 10 people, you can expect to make $10. Like literally, it's all based on how big your draw is when it comes to an agent. Um, that you can't play the Hollywood Bowl. All right, so I learned there's two things, right? You can play the Hollywood Bowl. You need one of two things to play the Hollywood Bowl, or to pay at some big arena, right? You either need a lot of money or a lot of fans. Those are the two things that will get you there. You can buy onto a tour and spend your money and use that tour as a promotional tool, or they're trying to hire you to play that. So because you draw people, like $10 a head, $20 a head, the more people, the more money. That's just, simple economics for an agent. A business manager. A business manager is basically an accountant for all intents and purposes. They help you to manage your money. Um, so advisors and consultants, a lot of times, if you're an independent artist and you don't have millions of fans or even hundreds of thousands, you can't bring more than 1,000 people to a show, then maybe what you need is an advisor or a consultant to give you some advice to help you get to the next level. Um, Advisors and consultants, sometimes you can pay them a flat fee. Sometimes they will take a percentage for any deals that they get for you. Um, that's basically what you use like advisors and consultants for. I actually, even as a manager, have tons of advisors and consultants myself that I talk to. And what we do is we consult with each other so that we could talk about things, and we have almost a collective where we try and help each other and each other's artists. And I mean, within that consultant group and collective that we have, there are a lot of huge artists that are involved. They're not, or they're artist managers, people who manage Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak and uh, even like Daltrey and people like that who we talk to on a regular basis and talk to us and help us to get ahead. As an artist, you could talk and to other bands that are doing well, who are doing the same thing that you want to do. Early in my career, I had club owners that I consulted with um, that helped me to really to build my brand, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a minute. But and the last thing is about promoters. And a promoter basically does exactly what his name does. He promotes things. He promotes shows. They promote concerts. They promote television shows. They're promoters. They're not necessarily agents. Agents book things and collect things. Promoters promote things. So that's the difference there.
Well, I'll add one thing to that, Sid,
All right.
just to kind of give some of our listeners kind of the details or a little bit of the behind the scenes. So managers, just to give you percentages, managers typically ask for usually anywhere from 10 to about 30%. 30% is on the really high end. I would even go as high as maybe 25, but managers tend to get 10 to 20% and usually work on a percentage basis. So they're aligned, their value is aligned with the artist's value, meaning their success or the artist's success is their success and vice versa. So everyone's trying to work for the same goal, of course. Lawyers can sway both ways. Lawyers can have a retaining or retainer fee, just like inside the entertainment industry and outside the entertainment industry. But they're inside the entertainment industry, especially with music artists. There is a case once you get to a certain level in your career as a music artist, lawyers can collect a percentage. If I'm not mistaken, that usually ranges from 3 to maybe 10%, but about 5% on average, I would say, where a lawyer is also invested in your success. That means that the artist is likely so busy dealing with so many contracts that the lawyer knows that their value, their value or their hourly rate is getting paid for and probably and some. Agents, when it comes to booking agents, particularly 10 to 15%. So, and that's of a given show. It's not of a career by any means, but of a show that they normally bring to the table. And in the case of most music artists, artists are typically signed to a specific booking agent, and that can vary. Not to, just once again, speaking from personal experience, the band Robot Nature, we're signed to a college booking agent called Deggy. They collect, and they also do military tours as well. So whatever they bring to the table in terms of colleges, actually it's not just what they bring to the table. When we perform at colleges or anything military related, and also some cases of corporate events, they will have a piece of that pie, and it's typically 10 to 15%. Advisors and consultants, consultants are typically a fee, like I think Sid has already mentioned, and promoters are also typically a fee as well. But just wanted to give that lowdown.
Yeah, I just want to say one more thing to this because all of these people, like managers, agents, business managers, are going to have you sign something. It might, I know it sounds obvious to me and maybe anybody who's been doing this for a long time. Don't sign anything without a lawyer. Don't do it. Don't sign it without a lawyer. You need a lawyer. It's important that you don't sign away your rights to everything, that you will actually get something at the end. You want
And
to
that's even
make
why
sure
you
you have a
mentioned
lawyer.
the first step is probably to align yourself with some entertainment lawyer, in the case of music artists, of course, entertainment lawyer, and hopefully an experienced one, because before you engage in a management contract, you need a lawyer and the trust of a lawyer to help you with that management contract. So, I do agree with you on that one too, Sid. So.
hmm So, I mean, the rest of this stuff is you pretty much are there now. You got your music, you got your look, you got your team together. You got your marketing, all of that stuff's kind of together now, and you're looking at doing a release. You can do a physical release with CDs or vinyl records, USB drives. You can do a digital release, which is basically um, iTunes, Amazon, Napster, Rhapsody, Spotify, all of those different things. Um, a part of that, is finding print ads and blogs that can help you promote your music. You can use posters, postcards, stickers, and I mean, I could go into each one of these and how they would help you to get ahead. I mean, you could take a stack of postcards and take them to a barber shop with the release of your new record, and people would see it, take it, and, even if it's just there to be seen mainly, having somebody walk away with it and have somebody else see it. Stickers, you got merch, t-shirts, hats, hoodies, bags, etc. These are all things that you should need to be thinking about for a release. Radio or not to radio. Some people are streaming playlists. Beware of playlisters who will put your music on fake playlists and then have you
Oh yeah.
banned from Spotify. It's very important. Like there really are no people that you can pay for that. So you have to be extremely careful with playlist promoters. Um, and radio, I go back to radio. I mean, for some bands, for some mediums of music, radio is still important. Record labels own the radio market, so it's expensive to get on the radio. But if you're doing any type of pop music, radio is still important for what you're doing. If you're more of a, if your music is more adult contemporary music, radio can still be very helpful for that. It still plays on the radio more than it streams, or people discover it that way more, I should say. So something to consider. College radio, if you're planning on doing some colleges, you got young stuff, will help you. Most of the college radio stations now also have streaming playlists. So they really just basically are broadcasting their playlist. Um, Kind of cool. But a lot of this stuff, when it comes down to like the merch stuff, you're going to make money off of that. The radio, you're going to make money off of that. Streaming playlist, you'll make a little bit of money off of that. Um, your physical stuff, if you have vinyl records, it's a weird thing. Like you buy a CD for $1.50, and I already know that no one's playing CDs. No one needs to have a CD. But at your shows, having something physical that people can buy is important because if they like the music, it's not about the CD. It's literally about supporting the artist. I want to support you. What can I buy from you now? As a collector's edition to take with me now. So having something to sell is super
Yeah.
important. That's how you're going to make your money. I mean, between me and Richard, we're constantly thinking about how we're going to get money back. It costs money to record. It costs money to take pictures. Stylists cost money. Everything costs money. So now we want to get our money back. And with streaming, I mean, you barely make any money at all. It's
Well,
really
and
not
just to
that
add
much
to this,
money.
this is I want to
Um,
make it quick because obviously time wise, but this really is one of the most strategic moments or parts of the whole development, modern artist development, because this, like Sid is saying, is all about the return on investment. This is where you want to strategize spending your money wisely and hoping for a return on investment. Physical, if you're touring, you definitely want physical. That would be very helpful because a lot of things are like point of sale at that moment when you're touring. Digital, that's kind of a given. It goes back to streaming as well. In this case, digital, that definitely has a return on investment. You can be strategic about that. Print ads, that's typically more around the touring or the promotion of a record. You would hope that someone would go on and view or stream or multiple times, become a fan, and therefore you'd see returns on that. So this is where, and then of course it just goes without saying with merch and things like that, this is where you really want to strategize because you hope for that return. So yeah, but let's keep it moving.
Hey, I'll tell
Quick
you
one though.
a quick anecdotal story about this whole thing. Like robot nature, like why does anybody want CDs and whatnot? So I burned some CDs and put them in white paper sleeves and showed up at the gig and just said, just ask them for a donation for a CD. This was early on. It was a live CD that the band had recorded at rehearsal. And people bought all the CDs. And instead of just getting like no money at all, like people would give us like $20 or $30 or $10 for this little CD and a piece of paper that didn't even matter. The key was that they just wanted to support the band.
Yeah.
That's the point I'm trying to make. And Richard could tell you that because he was one of the ones who said nobody wants CDs.
To a degree. Yeah, no, but no, we've had lots of conversations, but that's a whole other story for another day, right?
So shows, and touring, you're going to need some things in order to have a successful show. Sound, lights, any type of effects that you want to have on stage. Um, those are like the three things that you're worried about as far as the stage is concerned. And then setting up your tour, you're going to need to consider routing. You don't want to go crisscross across the country. You want to try and keep your shows close enough to get to within 24 hours. Riders and contracts. So contract kind of, I'm not going to say it guarantees anything, but it's an agreement between you and the venue that they're going to pay you
Yep.
and that you're going to show up. And this is what we're going to do. So that way you don't show up and they expect you to play 5 sets. You've already in writing said that we're doing one and it's going to be for 45 minutes and you're going to pay me X amount of dollars.
And the music industry is
th-
filled with great stories, but that's besides the point.
the rider, basically, if you have an opportunity and they ask if you're doing a festival or something like that, you can get different types of food. Like if you're a vegetarian, they're not going to know that. That's what your rider is supposed to say. Various things that you're going to need on stage. If you need like a particular, I need 2 monitors for the front for the lead singer. You put that in your rider. So that kind of just tells people what you need to make your show successful and comfortable.
Yeah, and
You know,
that also, to add to that, that's where like the funny jokes, which actually aren't so funny. There are artists out there that are so particular that they want all their red Skittles in one bowl, and then maybe their green Skittles in the other one bowl. Yeah, that's part of the rider. But they're also paying for that. A lot of people don't realize that the more intense you make that rider as an artist, you are as an artist paying for that. Generally speaking, someone's paying for it.
right.
Let's put it that way. It's coming out of their pocket. But why don't we actually move on, just for the sake of time, Sid? Why don't we go to the next slide, because this is just really overviewing everything we've talked about and different ways and different areas that an artist really will make their money, and other
Yeah.
these revenue opportunities.
So you make money from licensing your music for television and movies, for commercials, for trailers and things like that. Those things pay you real money. They pay thousands of dollars, some of them 5 figures. If you get it licensed for a movie trailer, it could be 6 figures, or a major motion picture could be 6 figures or more. Sponsorships and endorsements. Um, you could be sponsored by a company to perform at a show. For example, if you're doing Wango Tango, maybe they pay for your bus to get there. Maybe they pay for your slot or whatever
And when you
they're
say
paying
they, you mean like a Coca-Cola, like a spot, like a brand
a
that
sponsor.
sponsor? Yeah,
Exactly. It could
yeah,
be a clothing sponsor. It could be a beer sponsor, a soda sponsor, any type of sponsor that
everything.
you can get. Yeah, that endorsements are more of what you do, where they give you a deal. Like if you endorse a particular brand of bass guitar, you know, they will give you that guitar at half the price if you post
Yeah,
about
and
it or
it's
talk
very
about it and
it's
use
very
that
important to
instrument.
know that artists endorse brands, or artists endorse others, not the other way around. That's what learn that one the sort of hard way in a way. But yeah, so like if I endorse Korg, which I play a lot of their keyboards, they might give me a free keyboard or two, or certain things are very, very low pricing, to continue endorsing their brand that I support because I use their keyboards in that case.
Campaigns are cool. Now, when I talk about campaigns, I'm really talking about advertising campaigns. You ever see Flo, who's in that
Insurance,
uh
yeah.
the insurance commercial or the Geico thing? Like they're doing campaigns, and it's the same people, the same sound, the same thing across the board. And there's all kinds of campaigns that you can be involved in, um, that will pay you longer term, as opposed to just a one-off. These things go on for years, um, and they pay well. They pay you very well. You could get a
Yes.
retainer for that, to be paid to provide
And as a
services for whenever they
performer,
need it.
okay, well, and as
Record
a
labels,
performer, you can also collect royalties as a back end too. So as it gets aired in different places, if it's a TV spot or TV commercial, if it gets aired nationally, you're going to collect royalties as a performer, aside from just that original license or original upfront fee that's paid to you. So just add into that. But go ahead, record deals. Yes,
yeah, record
this is a
label
tricky one
deals.
though.
If you're Yeah, well, record. I'm not going to go into record label deals because everybody knows what record label deals are. They sometimes can be great. I really don't know of any super duper stars who don't have some sort of a record deal. I mean, record deals have evolved over the years where you have, um, deals that do distribution. and marketing, like an Empire, for example, like, or AWOL even is a record label. If you work your way up and you're selling things for them. So record labels, they can give you advances, they can collect your royalties. Record label deals are tricky. There's a million of them. There's all different kinds. Be very weary going into a record deal. Make sure that if you're going to sign a deal, that that your goals and their goals are aligned. So that way they don't shelf you or you just don't agree with things.
Yeah,
All record
yeah,
deals are not good
it's a
deals.
loan for an artist. So it means that
um,
if you get an advance as an artist and you take a record label deal, you are paying that money back in some way or another. So everything invested into the artist is always going to be paid back by the sums of money that an artist is earning. Otherwise, they're just going to be a failed business in some sense, or a failed venture in the case of a record label, which many of them are actually. And they won't necessarily make too much money thereafter their advance or something like that as an artist. And then you want me to? Can I wrap up the publishing deals, Sid? Or sure. So I mean, and a
yep.
publishing deal
Yeah, go
is
ahead.
also kind of in the form of a loan too, because it's just another way for an artist to collect on their writing. So if an artist is a writer, a songwriter, they have a royalty stream that can be collected through all these different mediums we've talked about, and all these different income streams that we've discussed. And therefore, an artist has a right to sell, or an option to sell, a piece of that long-term royalty stream in the form of their songs that they wrote on. So that's what and then there's publishers out there that will offer usually a sum of income that will hopefully they would also make back, and some from the investment, and they would collect a percentage of the songs that they invested in. And there's usually two types of publishing deals. There are deals that are
Or
yeah, I know,
Rich,
I
we're
know.
actually running out
Go
of
for it.
time here. We just
Did we
got
get a
the
warning? I was trying to wrap it up, and that's okay. That's okay.
yeah. We did.
So yeah, and that's what a publishing deal is. So it's done in those fashions. But yeah, that pretty much wraps it up. I don't know. Do we have no time for questions, or I knew we might run short, but okay, no
Yeah, we're
worries.
pretty much done. And that's the end of the presentation anyway. Hey guys, I'm glad you guys tuned in to check it out. I'm Sydney Alston. We got Richard Parizer. You definitely can find us. You can find me on Instagram at Big Sid's Music if you want to go see some of the artists and things that I'm working on. Um,
Yeah, you can
and
find me
Richard,
on all the socials, even through my name, Richard Parizer, and then also, you can find me through my band too, Robot Nature, and then and other things that we have going on. But yeah, feel free to reach out if you're listening and you do have questions we didn't get to answer or get into. Feel free to reach out to both of us, individually or not, and I'm happy to help and happy to, you know, build
Yeah.
a
So,
relationship.
Rich and Cindy, I would love to just point out to everybody, you guys should absolutely try to reach out to them. There's so much more to say in this talk, and I'm sad that we've run short on time. Also, I know there are other projects you guys are involved in, and I think this has been a tremendous education in what it means both to manage, but to be the artist, to be on both sides of it. And that's what's important for us to all take in. We're not all performing, but we see how important the act of performing is, and we see what it means to actually take it to the next level, thanks to your presentation. So appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Forrest.
So I think
thank
you
you.
guys got your contact information out there. Is that true? I think
Yeah, and
okay,
feel
I
free to
was
share as
transitioning
well.
in.
Hmm.
Yeah, awesome. Will do. And we appreciate your time, and we have our next talk coming up just after this. So I think we're going to go ahead and transition out, and we'll be back on in just a few minutes with Jean Draban.